All right, we just went through all 16 teams in the Big 12. We talked about a big spring question, someone that we were excited to find out, maybe a new coach, a new coordinator, a quarterback competition, finding reinforcements in the back end defensively, whatever it may be. Every team's a little bit different. But collectively, what are these teams? What is the Big 12? I think several people have all kind of sang the same song about the Big 12 is wide. The Big 12 is deep. The Big 12 is really, really competitive. And the gap between their best team and their worst team is more narrow than probably every other league in college football. But is the Big 12 the anomaly, or will the Big 12 in time become more the norm? Because I think when you look at the Big 12 and you look at how competitive it is across the board, I think we're going to see more and more of this when the House settlement and other things are thrust into the college football world. We're going to see more and more leagues get condensed. I think last year, for example, the SEC, at the time, Alabama was number one. Vanderbilt has perennially been a bottom dweller in the SEC. Guess what? Vanderbilt beat Alabama for the first time in 40 years. I look at other situations, and I know that Northwestern and Ohio State, the gap between the two programs is max. It can't get bigger, right? There's nothing bigger than that gap. Well, guess what? I'm pretty sure Northwestern just a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, in Evanston on a day that it was blowing 100 miles an hour, that game was way too close for comfort. And that was with a C.J. Stroud-led Ohio State team. So I do think the gap will get tighter for pretty much every league once the House settlement and these leagues and these schools can pay players directly. That will be very interesting. The other thing about this too is I think the Big 12 collectively is a lot better than people realize. Now, we live in a world in which people are crazy enamored with how many stars guys have. This guy's got that star. This guy's got that star. This team has this. This guy had the number 7 recruiting class when he got to this school, whatever it may be. I think the Big 12 is more about development, first and foremost. 2, I also think you have great continuity and several different places. Granted, tons of transfer players, so they utilize the transfer portal as much as anybody. It's not like the Big 12 uses it less than the ACC, the Big 10, or the SEC. They don't use it less. I think everyone uses it about the same. But I think you find a lot of diamonds in the rough in the Big 12. A lot. And all you have to do is look at the team like Texas that was across the board. Everyone that even puts a chin strap on for Texas has 4 or 5 stars. Everyone. All of them. Well, how many 4 and 5 star players did Arizona State have? And how competitive was that game? It was pretty dang competitive, was it not? And I think, by the way, Arizona State, in a lot of ways, outplayed Texas in that game, especially after the first 2 touchdowns that Texas scored. It was kind of all Arizona State there until the very end. So looking at the Big 12, yes, the brands will not be as big as some of the teams that you'll see in the Big 10 and the SEC. The brands won't be as big. They won't have as much viewership. The eyeballs will not be as significant when the Big 12 is playing games up against the blue bloods of the SEC or the Big 10. That's fine. But it doesn't mean those teams aren't of significant quality. We saw that last year from just how competitive Arizona State was. But I think we're going to continue to see this. And I would be surprised if the Big 12 does not win multiple playoff games in the future. Will they win the national championship? That's probably a bridge too far for me right now. But can they win games in the playoff? 100% certain that they can do that. And in the event in which we expand to 16, will they be in line? Assuming they don't use automatic qualifiers. Will the Big 12 ever be in line to have more than one team, or to potentially secure at-large berths beyond that of their conference champion? They probably should be. It's a better league than people realize, and I think it's time to give them their flowers.